Hey.
I don't know if you're excited for this.
This is not my genre. You know that.
Welcome to Her Fertility, the podcast revolutionizing the way women are supported on their fertility journey. I'm your host, Jess Tims. With years of supporting women as a fertility doula, I've seen the emotional pain caused by infertility, including my own struggle with unexplained infertility. And I always knew there had to be a better way to support women with their fertility health and healing. If you're ready to find a new spiritual perspective for your fertility journey, then press play. This is Josh, my amazing husband, and we are recording our first podcast together. You've been such a huge support in this whole thing. And I thought it would be really helpful and beneficial for couples to hear your side of our story, because I tell our story a lot and I appreciate your perspective on it. And so I asked if you would join me. And I don't know if you're happy about that.
I'm here. I'm supporting.
You are here and you're supporting, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I'm Josh. I'm Jess's husband.
He's being very modest. He's Josh.
I don't know what to say.
I know you don't know what to say. He completed a 100-mile race in the desert less than a year ago. You've done running. You've done 10 Ironman triathlons. You are an amazing dad to our amazing son. You support me in a way that I never thought was possible in a partnership. And here you are on the Her Fertility podcast. So I'm so grateful.
And the biggest journey besides the 100-mile race was our fertility journey.
For those who might not know, it took us over 2 years to get pregnant. And what I think the kicker for me is our love story was big. You were married before. I was engaged before. Neither of those had worked out. Then we found each other and we had this like whirlwind romance, and we felt like we finally found the love of our lives, and like every door was going to open from there on out. Like all of our problems melted away. That's what it felt like. And then we had this beautiful, amazing wedding, and we knew we wanted kids. Then we can't get pregnant, and we were healthy. I think that's another part of our puzzle. Like you were doing your Ironmans, you were managing a gym. That's how we met. I worked at the gym, you managed the gym, and we knew a lot about nutrition. We knew a lot about the body. I just never thought that infertility would be one of my cards. And then it was. And I feel like that was part of the reason why it was so hard for us. Specifically.
I agree. And that, yeah, it was exactly that. We thought it was going to be like, oh, 2 months of trying. Here we go. And I'm not young.
Yeah.
So we felt the pressure of that too.
Yeah.
There was the pressure of it. Kind of a pressure of a timeline too.
He's 11 years older than me.
And I didn't want to be the 70-year-old. There's nothing against 70-year-old dads taking their kids to preschool, but I didn't want to be a 70-year-old taking my kid to preschool.
When we were ready, from your perspective, what was our fertility journey like for you?
In this whole process, it didn't feel like a fertility journey for me. It just felt like us trying. For me, it was more of like, okay, like what can we do to make it happen? I don't really consider it like a journey.
No, just like 2 years of our lives dedicated to trying to have a baby. Like I would say that was a journey.
I think from a male perspective, it's just different. You feel like you're on the sideline of it. Even though I did go through the semen analysis and I did do that stuff, you still feel like you don't really have much control over it, and the pressure is all on you. Yes, delivering my sperm and letting you do whatever your body's going to do with it, but I think it really feels more like a journey for a female, not a journey for a male.
That's interesting because I feel like when it comes to the awkwardness that sex became, the male feels this pressure to perform because it's like, without you, I can't get pregnant, right? I don't know if it was more pressure for you, because for me, it was more about like figuring out when to try.
Right. You're doing all the tracking. You're taking your temperature every day. My position is like, okay, I have 2 to 3 times that I perform besides our other times we're having sex. But the day in and day out is more of a journey for the female than it is for the male.
You think like in the mind too. Like, we're going to try for a baby, which is exciting. And it's like a big decision that you come to. And then it becomes, it's not happening. I realize I don't know a lot. Like, let's learn some more. Which maybe that is more on the female. Like, I do feel like the female partner is typically the one like wanting more info. And maybe it's because there is more info to know.
I think also the effectiveness of exercise, of diet, and of just basic healthier lifestyle has a bigger change more rapidly for a male than it does a female.
Yeah.
So it was just like, okay, I'm not going to go ride 100 miles on my bike.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take my body to a limit where it's exhausted. I'm not going to drink as much. And we saw from the first analysis to the second analysis that it made a dramatic difference.
Then why, for some men, is it so hard for them to make the changes?
Because they don't feel like it's them. Because the society says the female is the one that has the fertility problem, not the male.
Yeah.
I was very comfortable getting my semen analyzed and seeing how productive they could be. Like, that didn't bother me. You've seen it. Most males don't even want to go get that checked out.
No.
They don't want to be the reason why you're not having a child.
I think you're right. I think on a cultural level, we're putting such an emphasis on female fertility, on the woman, that like that becomes the lens in which you view it from.
Right. Even though it's 50-50.
So you did have multiple semen analysis during our journey, and I had the pleasure of joining you on the first one. So I went with...
And this is true. You can do this.
Well, I don't know if all clinics.
Some clinics.
Our clinic did.
Yeah.
I don't know if they all do. That's a disclaimer. I'm not sure. But you should ask, because I did, and they let me go. So I went with you to your first semen analysis.
To help the extraction.
To help. I don't know if I helped or not. That room was so weird.
So you walk in. There's a woman sitting at a desk, of course. It's like a hospital. So you go in and you check in. And then you're waiting in a room. And then they call your name. And they're like, okay, next up. Let's go in. They have magazines sitting around. They have a computer if you want to get on a computer. I had you the first time. So it was just kind of like, okay, like.
Yeah.
Just.
Produce.
Yeah. So that there's the pressure. Like, if we're talking about having any pressure, it's like going into a non-stimulating sexual environment and being like, okay, now give me this. So,
yeah.
But we have learned there's other ways of doing it now.
Yeah. So that was like in the ancient times, because it's been a while. So now, knowing about Legacy, who was on the last episode, would you have done that?
Totally.
Right?
It's so much easier.
So much easier. Yeah.
And more comfortable. And like, it didn't matter me being in front, like walking into an office or whatever, but just the environment itself wasn't conducive to the act that you were supposed to go and do.
Well, and I have to say, like, I totally understand from a female perspective, though. It's like, it is like a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of awkward, uncomfortable testing that women go through. When you're trying, like, you're half naked during every appointment, you have somebody in and around your business all of the time, and it's like, I know that you're not trying to be, like, it's a different end game. However, it's like a drop in the bucket.
a drop in the bucket, but you're not having to perform anything. Somebody's just checking you out.
Yeah, but it's not comfy, man.
Tell me about it. I've been checked out. The second time was even more awkward.
Yeah, because I wasn't
like,
with you.
You weren't with me.
Was it at the same place?
No, it was at a hospital. Like, it was literally at a test, like a blood draw testing center. So you go in, the room was tiny, and it was like, log on to this computer if you want to log on or look at these magazines, and here's your cup.
If anybody from a clinic is listening, like, is there anything else you can do? Like, maybe find the room at the end of the hallway away from everything else.
Maybe play some nice music.
Music, some low lighting. It's bad. I am a proponent of semen analysis. Like, you should definitely get a semen analysis.
I've done it twice. The thing is, it's not that bad. Like you said, in the whole process of it all, it's one thing that the guy can do.
Yeah.
And it's an awkward, weird experience that I'm not going to play up, but you can do it.
And it will give you so much data. And like you said, there are changes you can make to improve it if you need to. And so it's interesting to me that you don't really think of it as a journey. I totally see that now, but like up until now, I always thought like we thought of this as part of our journey together. But what would you say was like the hardest part?
There are a couple hard parts. The hard part is when your sex life becomes a task. Like, that is just, there's really no intimacy behind it. But I don't think that was the hardest part. I think the hardest part was every month that you started your period was the hardest part. Because you didn't have as much knowledge as you do now. So you were beating yourself up.
Yeah.
We were trying everything that we could, from lubes to vitamins to standing on your head to legs up the wall to...
I would literally do handstands.
Hold it in for an hour. Don't let it come out. Like, all that stuff, It's like, there's just things. And without the knowledge and without the support...
Yeah.
It's not like you want to run to a close relative.
Felt like we only had each other. And we kind of only wanted to tell each other for a while.
That's where we have been taught to put it, is behind closed doors.
That's true.
And I think you and where you're going with all of this is bringing it more out into the open. But yeah, the hardest part was every month.
I think it's interesting that you said that I didn't know what I know now, which is totally true. But I felt like I knew everything when we were trying. I did. I felt like I was reading everything. I knew everything. I was trying everything. But in reality, I didn't. I was largely missing a lot of things. And I wish I had the balls to work with someone, because I do think that was one of my biggest downfalls, was like I wanted to do it all myself. What do you think worked for us? Because people ask me that a lot. Like, so what, like, how did you guys finally get pregnant? What worked?
Everything just clicked. We're not two of the most patient people.
No, we're not.
When it comes to trying to manifest something that we want.
Nope.
So that was against us. There is something about the stress and of it.
But okay, now that we know more about energy, do you also think we were in the energy of pushing it away because we were so desperate? And if you haven't heard me talk about this, I should do a whole breakdown of this. But we were in like the desperation energy instead of being in like the receiving energy.
And also the energy of your whole past energy.
That's true.
Like, there's more than just the pushing away. We're two people who analyze quite a bit too. Like,
yep.
And want to plan something to a T. So
I almost just spit out my tea. That's very accurate. I feel like we've gotten better at that. We've almost been married 9 years, and we've gotten better about not planning everything to a T.
Yeah. We have gotten a lot better.
But
I only see two lists that are around this room right now.
There's a lot of lists. The list will never go away. I'm a list person.
You are.
Okay, it's how things get done.
Yeah.
Lists.
But yeah, the energy of the pull to want something so bad, it does push it away at some point.
At some point. And a lot of what I do now with people is working on how you finesse that energy to still have the desire but not push it away. And that's not something I knew how to do before. So you and I have both read Spirit Babies.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're listening and you haven't read Spirit Babies, the idea is that the soul of this little tiny human that you're bringing into the world exists, and you are the union in which you're going to create the body for this little soul to come in, right? And there's a lot more. That's a very simplified version of the book. It's really interesting. Knowing about Spirit Babies now, because we didn't read it until after Maddox was like 5. Knowing Maddox now, who's 5, turning 6, do you feel like there was any part of probably me or you that like he was waiting for to change, or
maybe not change, but make sure it's stuck.
Tell me more.
Like in our entire relationship, like you said, it was dramatic. It was, I was married, you were engaged, coming off of
calling off a
wedding and everything, and just making sure that we were both in the right place.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say doing it for the right reason, but like making sure that he was coming into a very foundational, strong union of people.
Yeah.
That he could feel supported and grow and nourish in. So yes, totally, 100%.
Yeah. It's interesting. So like I have like really open, clear upper chakras, and I have closed lower chakras, which are the grounding chakras. And so it's interesting because I do feel like the journey for me was very whimsical and like imaginative, and I wanted to be a mom, and it was in my mind. It was very up high in the higher chakras of like, I knew in my intuition I was going to be a mom. I would talk a lot about it. I felt it in my heart. Like those are the higher chakras, but my lower chakras, I have like trauma and like things that I hadn't dealt with yet in my low root chakras. And so they were closed. And I do feel like he did need it to feel more grounded to come through.
But the dreams that I remember of you having before we had Maddox, it was always you and a child. Mm-hmm. It was never you, me, and a child. Mm-hmm. So knowing Maddox and knowing he's my spirit baby.
He is your spirit. That's the truth. Maddox and Daddy.
The contract, I think,
you guys
I feel it was a contract with my soul, not a contract with your soul.
I agree.
He wanted it to make sure that it was the 3 of us.
That's interesting. So. I do have a lot of dreams. I've always had a lot of dreams. I have dreams about my clients' babies now. Like, I dream all the time. You've never said that before. I did. I would only dream about me and a baby. That's so interesting. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I do agree. You and Maddox are like soul contract for sure. But I also don't feel unattached. Like, I feel like very purposeful, the 3 of us.
No, you were the reason he came.
Yeah,
I've had a whole relationship before.
That's true.
That there was no child.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah. Well, and I think that leads to like why. So we always thought we'd have 3 kids, and we wanted that, and we had names for them all. I don't even remember what the names were.
Maddox wasn't Maddox.
No, there was no Maddox. It wasn't. Even when he was in utero, we had a different name. And then at some point we were like, this name is not this baby. And then before he was born, we found Maddox. But then once Maddox was born and we had this amazing little human, the desire for the other 2 just melted away. And like, we never ever wanted more kids. And people kept saying like, just wait, like it'll come, just wait. When he turns 1, you'll want more babies. And like, that never happened. So you had a vasectomy. And I want to talk about that because I don't think enough people do talk about that. But I also want to say, like, if you are a parent and you have one and you feel like you want to be one and done, that's fine. It's great.
So many people say, when's the next one? Are you guys going to have another one?
People assume that because we had infertility that we can't get pregnant with another baby.
Oh, I don't feel that.
You don't?
No. Because, once you have one child, it's easy to have the second one, right?
That's not true.
Not true.
That's very sarcastic.
Very.
I work with a lot of secondary infertility, and it is not true. It can be very challenging to have more babies. I'm going to adopt that view then. So what was your experience like with the vasectomy?
Making the call to schedule it was probably the biggest hurdle of the entire thing. Everybody seems to have a bad rap of it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. Guys don't want to talk about it. Yeah. They feel like their masculinity is taken away from them. You hear all these weird things. Like your testicles are going to hang down to your knees or, all this stupid stuff. Like it's not that.
No.
And when I finally went in, we didn't know how long it was going to be.
No, I had all these plans to go do things, and I dropped you off, and then literally you called me and you're like, I'm done. And I was like, wait.
10 minutes later. Like literally that's what it was.
So
it was like
fast.
a local anesthetic. He tells you what he's going to do. He makes a tiny, tiny incision. You feel a little snip, but that's about it. And then he's done.
Yeah.
Like, he goes, do you want to see the vas deferens tube that I actually cut out? I was like, yeah, sure. And he shows you, and then
it's like a little straw.
Yeah, tiny. And then you're done. And then 10
10
minutes later, I'm walking out. It wasn't even that big of a deal.
No.
It wasn't anything. So the whole process is way over exaggerated on how bad it can be. And I don't understand why, after the vasectomy, you have to check your sperm twice, but you get to do that one at home.
You do get to do that one at home.
But I guess they're only looking for the sperm itself. They're not looking for mobility and...
Yeah. Okay, but still.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's true. It doesn't need to be a viable sample. That's true.
Right.
All right. This has been wonderful. You're very good on a podcast.
Thank you for saying that.
You are. I like this. Would you do this again?
Yeah, sure. I'll do it again.
Okay, so if you want Josh to come on more episodes, definitely leave a comment and share this episode so we know that you want him on more. And if there's any topics that you're curious about from both of us, then let me know. You can send me a DM on Instagram at FertilityJess, or and let me know what you'd be interested in hearing about from Josh and me.
I love you.
I love you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If you are struggling with infertility, you've probably tried to find support from family and friends, but they just don't get the depth of your problems. That's why I created the Fertility Support Circle. The circle meets monthly for free, where you'll connect virtually with women who are also navigating their fertility journey. If the monthly call is not enough, I also created a Fertility Support Circle membership to give you professional support at a fraction of the cost of private fertility doula sessions. The Circle membership gives you weekly support, including live sessions with me each week inside the member-only portal and access to a community of women who understand. If you're ready for support, please send me a DM on Instagram at FertilityJess. That's FertilityJess. And I'll send you the information.